Which of the 12 cities is your favorite and why?
So far, I would probably say Luxembourg City was actually my favorite. I thought it was really interesting to learn a lot more about it. I had been there previously, but I had never really learned about the universities, the multinationals, everything, and that was really interesting to learn about. And because it's such a small city, there wasn't too much information out there on it, but it was able to help me improve also my researching skills and cross-checking resources, examining everything. So I definitely enjoyed that the most so far.
What's your name?
My name is Shankar.
And where are you from?
I'm from the US and India.
How is that possible?
I was born in the United States, but both of my parents are from India, so yeah.
Perfect. And what did you study and which university did you graduate from?
I studied social policy and sociology, and I graduated from University of Bristol in 2023.
And what kind of work would you like to be doing in 10 years from now?
I would love to be working at the UN from now on. That would be amazing. That would be an incredible opportunity. So that's why I want to also continue furthering my studies in public policy, because I think that would be an amazing job for me.
We'll do everything we can to help make that possible.
Thank you.
What inspired you to become a volunteer at Homeless Entrepreneur?
I've been volunteering with homeless people for around 10 years in my life now. I've always had a passion for working with them and helping them. I've done a few volunteering projects, like in India when I went, and around Spain I've done a few things, but I wanted to do something where I could also use what I studied in university to help out, because that was always my dream goal, to work with homeless people alongside with policy work. So when I found this opportunity, I thought it was absolutely perfect, and I'm very glad I got to do this.
What's one thing similar and one thing different about homelessness in the United States and India?
Wow, okay, yeah. So difference, I would say that people in India, I would say that the way they get treated, actually I would say similarity first. The way that they get treated is quite similar, depending on obviously the state you're in, but I do think in the United States, but I do think that a lot of times there is kind of a just ignore them and let them be type of thing, versus actually going out there and helping them or trying to tackle homelessness as a whole problem. So I think that is quite similar. And I've noticed when working alongside volunteers in America versus in India, I've noticed that's very similar. A difference I would say is that there is like more of a, like for helping, when I was helping out people in India, I was able to feed them directly. I was able to hand feed them and everything. So there's more of that like personal touch to it, I would say, than in the United States. I would say in the United States it's a bit more disconnected. Whereas in India, yeah, it is a bit more personal. You get to really know them and you get to really talk to them and have conversations with them.
Perfect. What impact do you aim to achieve through this collaboration as a volunteer with Homeless Entrepreneur?
I just want to work on helping all the homeless people out here in Barcelona, out there in all the different cities that we're working on. And I would say that a big thing for me is just working on policy work and looking at the different policies in different cities, which is what I've been doing as well while doing the reports. So definitely to keep working on policy analysis and looking at the different policies in the cities.
Now we're going to speak a little bit more about the vision of homelessness. What was your perception of homelessness before forming part of Homeless Entrepreneur?
I would say that I assumed that it wasn't as bad as it is in Europe. I assumed that it was, well, not to say that it's very bad, but I did assume that it was less levels and less for example, in Dublin, I didn't realize it was as intense as it was with the 10,000 homeless people over there. So I thought that maybe in comparison to the US or to India even, that it was a lot less, and in reality, it's not too different.
And how has your perception of homeless people evolved as you've collaborated with us?
I've started to see just the different lights and the different, being able to look at interviews, past interviews with previous homeless people or currently homeless people, starts to really alter your perception of, before I definitely saw them as just people to help out, and then now it's starting to be able, I start to see them more as like, well, it's just holistic human beings, you know, well-rounded human beings. So it's seeing them in a different light and seeing them in more as instead of just a two-dimensional thing to help, it's more of a 3D, like a person to help out. But it definitely, my perception on them has definitely changed.
Okay. Now, regarding the EU report, which is something you're providing support to, specifically the onboarding process. First of all, what does the EU report mean to you? What is it exactly?
It's 12 cities that we focus on the key multinationals, key previously homeless people in universities, political parties, NGOs, investors, and youth. And we look at all of those components in each of the cities. I think it is a really important project that will help all future interns who work here be able to get a clear picture of the cities that they're working in, and being able to reach out and collaborate with people from those cities is definitely helpful for combating homelessness, I believe.
Regarding the specific focus of the onboarding process, how important do you think it is for people to have the right knowledge so that way they can participate correctly in the e-report?
I think it's extremely important. I believe that it's necessary to know, to have prior research done on the cities that you're traveling to, that you're working with. I think and correct information is vital, and that's why I'm also excited to start having other multinationals or people from different companies look at the report and make sure everything in the information is correct. So I'm excited for that next step of the process as well.
How has your onboarding process improved, or how has your knowledge, because the way that you've focused on the first city to where you're in now, obviously the vision of homelessness, the e-report and everything, how has that changed as you've received more information?
Well, the first city I did was London, and then the most recent city that I've been working on is Frankfurt.
Okay.
And the difference in between the two has been, it's been great to see, because the first report, it took me a much longer time. I think it took me 3 weeks in total just to get the report done. I had to make a lot of changes, even just from the format and design of it all. And then recently, the Frankfurt one, I was able to do the research a lot quicker. I was able to cross-check my sources a lot faster. The format of it, I have down to a T. So now it's a lot faster for me to get these reports out, and it's going a lot smoother doing the research for them as well.
It's beautiful. You also mentioned you were interested in working with the UN in the future. What's the correlation with this project and possibly working in the UN? And if there is a correlation, what does this project mean to you?
Well, I believe that this project in general is just very helpful for a career in social policy as a whole, just because I'm doing social policy work for this company. So I believe that it's very helpful to know, very helpful to get some experience on that, on looking at policies, on everything. So I believe that it's very closely interlinked, my experiences here. And this project means a lot to me because it's one of the first proper projects that I've worked on that helps homeless people, and it allows me to have a better understanding of policy in the different cities and how the policies work in Europe as a whole, just to see the differences across the different cities and different countries. It's really opened my eyes about the differences in policies between the different countries and cities.
What's your biggest highlight so far?
So far, I would say just learning about all of the different cities so far. So as like in Dublin, I mentioned that I learned about how there's 10,000 homeless people there, and in different cities, learning about the different amounts and everything. That's been very eye-opening. I would say also learning about the policies and shelters that have been put into place to help homeless people has been very eye-opening. Looking at the different NGOs that are available and everything. So I think I was just able to see things more clearly now, like looking at the policies and everything. It's definitely been clearer.
And what do you need to accelerate this project?
I would say that I need to be able to, it's going to be my first time really marketing myself or marketing this project to other people during the second step of this process, which is reaching out to companies to be able to improve on my work. And I think to accelerate that, I want to start getting better at reaching out to people, at being able to ask for donations, at things like this. So I want to get better definitely at interacting with people with the work that I've done. So I think that will, if I start to work on that, start to post on LinkedIn more, that will help accelerate the process for the next step of the project.
Okay, great. Don't want them out, but have you donated to support the U project? And do you recommend other people to donate and support? And why? Or why not?
Yes, I have donated, and I absolutely recommend it. I think that this is a very important project. This has been doing a lot of good for the homeless people in all these cities, in the 12 cities. So I think that donating helps us further able to go out into these cities and work with people there and be able to work one-on-one with a lot of people. So I feel that donating even just as much as you can is worth it.
Yeah, we really want to take it from the internship volunteer aspect to professionalizing it, so that way people that want to spend their time on it professionally as a career can as well. If you had to choose one sponsor right now to support the EU report, who would it be and why? You've seen a lot of names with multinationals,
Yes.
investors, and
Yes.
which one do you connect with the most?
That's a good question. I feel like, honestly, maybe the NGO ActionAid. I've seen them across a lot of cities, so as the top NGOs, I've seen it quite often. And I feel like that would be a good example of it's a good example of helping others, and as an NGO, a fellow NGO, they know what it's like to be dealing with this all for nonprofit. So I feel like that would be very helpful to understand and to see their point of view and to see if everything makes sense on our end.
Good. How will you know that you're part of the process and the project of onboarding, helping people have the right material, is successful?
I think that definitely comes with the next part of the project, which is, once again, reaching out to people and making sure that all of my information is correct. I think that will be when I'm able to make the changes that are not correct, and when I'm able to start adding things and going over past projects and making sure everything is correct. So I think once I'm starting to get that feedback from other people, that will start to perfect it all.
Okay. And now, a small call to action. I'd like you to think about one person that you would like to join the cause to support what we're doing. Say their name, look in the camera, and invite them to join.
Okay. This is hard. I don't know. There's so many people that I can think of.
Just one.
Okay. And it can be like a friend, a family member?
Whoever you want. It could be a friend, a family member, or the president of a country. You choose.
Okay. I would say Maya Shankar, I would like you to be a part of this project, and I think that this would be a great project for you to collaborate on as well.
Thank you. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about the volunteering aspect. Tell me, what is a typical week like for you, or a day when you're focusing on doing the onboarding process? What are the normal tasks that you have to do?
So I usually start out by laying out the template. So I use the past projects that we've done, the ones that are finished, and I start putting the PowerPoint presentation together. So just the outline, so just the slides, everything. Then I start by slowly doing the research on for example, if it's multinationals that I'm doing, I will focus on looking at the logos next, finding the stock exchange and finding the top 10 companies, and then I do logos. And then I start to look at overall picture and start to find deeper information about division of sectors and GDP and stuff. So it first starts with creating the PowerPoint, then it goes into looking at the top 10, and then eventually I start writing the blurbs for it by looking at the top 10 and then seeing what information that's given from them.
Okay, now that we have an idea more or less of your task, what is one of the biggest challenges and one of the biggest benefits you have as a volunteer on this program?
Challenges, I would say, is definitely language barriers when it comes to doing research on certain projects. For example, when I did my research project in Brussels, there were 3 languages there, so it's hard to sometimes find research. And for example, it was harder when I needed to do some research on Luxembourgish or Flemish, it was harder to find translators with that. I don't know how accurate the translations are, so sometimes that's a bit of a struggle. Benefits, I would just say, is the amount of research I'm being able to understand, the amount of I have done research projects in the past, but this is a whole year-long project, so I'm starting to really understand how to look for certain resources, how to tell when a resource is correct or when it's not as official as other ones, and then being able to cherry pick which ones are the best ones to use, to cross-check, look on multiple sources. If one isn't enough and one isn't giving me accurate information, then I have to go onto multiple different sources and make sure they all add up. But it's definitely given me a step up in the research process.
Now, would you recommend other youth like yourself that are looking to get into the professional world to become volunteers with Homeless Entrepreneur? If so, explain why.
Absolutely, I definitely think so. I think that it gives great insight into how homelessness operates in Europe, and I think that it's really eye-opening and really important to see this stuff, see it in real life, see it how it affects people every day. And Homeless Entrepreneur gives you a chance to really connect with people one-on-one. It gives you a chance to really see their stories, hear their stories, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity. And I think anyone who's wanting to help out people, this is a perfect chance to do it.
Okay, and the last question is, how can future volunteers collaborate with you to improve the onboarding process of the EU report?
Well, I'm posting on LinkedIn. I'm posting. I'll be active on emails. I'll be active everywhere. So and I'll be reaching out to people as well. So if you want to collaborate with me and want to check out my past reports, please send me a message. I'd be very happy to talk with you, to conversate, and to understand anything that's missing, to see what I can improve on. I'm very open to feedback, so I'd love to hear it, and I only want to improve. So any feedback is essential to me and perfect for me.
Well, I just want to end by thanking you for your consistency. You've been providing support on a weekly basis in Europe, in the United States, and that kind of commitment as a volunteer helps us lower the cost of ending homelessness and increasing the opportunities. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Hug.
Of course. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
For the making of?
Yeah. That wasn't painful, was it?
No, not at all. I was scared before though.
No.
This is fast.